Hey, hello everyone. This is Dr. Joseph Capps coming back to you again with another podcast and another video from Dancing with the Darkness. If you are a new subscriber, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that this video speaks to you today. I hope that you glean something from it, that there's something that speaks to you today that is going to help you in your healing journey or to begin your healing journey. And if this video does speak to you today, do us a favor, like and subscribe. It helps the channel a great deal. It also helps get the videos out there to a larger demographic. Simply here to try to help others that are dealing with the effects of CPTSD. And this is a raw, unfiltered account of not only my life with CPTSD, but the healing that's available, the restoration, and most of all, a message of hope. For our subscribers and continued listeners, I just want to thank you so much for your support of the channel. We can't do it without you, and your comments and things that you bring to the table are precious to me and cherished. So please comment anytime on the video, email me anytime. Your feedback has been wonderful, and it's very, very affirming and much appreciated for the work I'm doing here. This video today, I want to talk about one of the things that's very prevalent with CPTSD. We have a lot of things that we've gone over in our past videos. We've talked about attachment, we've talked about emotional regulation, we've talked about all of these things. And today I want to talk about something that is pretty chronic. It has been for me especially, and can obviously be something that others of you that are listening to this video may glean from. And I want to talk about emotional withdrawal, and I want to talk about why that happens. So I want you to imagine yourself, slowly disappearing from your own life. This is kind of what this feels like, not physically, but emotionally. You're there, you're present. Maybe you're sitting at work, or you're sitting in a restaurant, or even sitting at the dinner table. You're doing the right things as far as your mannerisms. You're smiling at the right time. You're expressing emotion at the right time. You're even responding to others when they're speaking to you, probably with the right reactions. But the problem is, you're not really present. Inside, it's kind of like someone has dimmed the lights. You're not really there. You're there physically, but you're not really there completely emotionally. And maybe you can't even remember when this started in your life, especially with CPTSD. We can't really define when we started even really noticing that this happened. If you're watching this video right now and you're nodding, or you're feeling something inside like this is familiar, I want you to understand that you're probably experiencing emotional withdrawal, or probably have been experiencing emotional withdrawal. And before you feel bad about this, I just want you to know something. It doesn't mean that you're broken, and it doesn't mean that you failed in life. This isn't about you, and this isn't the time for the inner critic to step in and start defamating you and making this your fault, okay? It means that we've been carrying things for way too long. This is what happens. We're carrying a lot of pain. We're carrying the effects of a lot of trauma, and we've been doing it for a long time, and we've been doing it way too long. And this is part of that threshold that I've been talking about in these past videos. We get to this point. I don't know what age it is. I've reached that age. I've reached that age at 50 years old, where I don't have the threshold, and I don't have the capacity for all of the things that I've carried for so long. And so you start to see yourself, you can call it checking out, you can call it dying inside, you can call it, all of these, there's all kinds of different ways that you can explain this, but basically you're distancing yourself from everyone and everything at an emotional level. You're literally withdrawing because you just don't have the capacity anymore. You've been carrying some things from the past, some traumas, some things that have happened to you for way too long. It's not like that, we wake up one day and we're like, oh, today I'm going to detach from my own feelings. It's a great day to do that. It's a Tuesday. So Tuesday is detach from my emotions Tuesday. It's not the way that this happens. Um, it's slow, it's arduous, it's a very quiet retreat that happens the same way that we describe the layers of trauma and all of the layers that go into CPTSD. It's very, very similar to that. It's very, very slow, it's very arduous, and it's something that happens over time. It's leaving the conversation early. Not because we're busy, but because we just don't have the energy to stay anymore. It's staring at your phone maybe when you know you should call someone back, but you just can't. It's avoiding things that you used to love because joy feels like a language you've forgotten how to speak. I think in particular, I used to love to hunt. I used to love to fish. You can see the fish on the wall behind me. I used to really, really enjoy these things. And now, in the past few years, because of my capacity has stopped for a lot of things, it's just become one of those things where um, you just find yourself fatigued. You find yourself too tired. You find yourself not willing to put in the work to go hunting or fishing because now I've got to clean the fish or I've got to process the animal. It's like, we start to check out of things that we actually enjoy. Um, and it's because literally, we start to get to the point where we don't know if joy is possible. We don't know even what joy is. And this is all part of this emotional withdrawal. And it's based on years and years of trauma, and maybe you're still in relationships that are not healthy. Maybe you're still in relationships that are traumatic, and this is just continuing to further the process of being emotional, withdrawing from everything. It's a series of maybe micro rejections or micro conversations where people that you care about have said something that cut deeply, and then in retrospect it brings up things from the past. There's lots of ways that this starts to really um, get on board here. And one of the scariest parts is that a lot of times the people around you don't even notice that this is happening. That's how scary this is. You've become so good at pretending and so good at being an actor in your own life that people can't even tell that you're really checking out. Only the people that are really, really, really close to you are going to be the ones that are going to show up when it comes to this. It's just absolutely mind-boggling how this happens. It's very, very slow. It's very, very arduous. Like I said, it's something that is going to continue to develop over time. And like I said, it happens so slow and in such a small way a lot of times that you don't even realize that you haven't even, you don't even realize that it's happening is the problem. It's not going to announce itself with a loud bang. It's going to be something that just kind of shows up over time. And I think that it has to do mainly with the capacity part of this. I think that we get to the part, we've gotten to the capacity of what we can tolerate. And then also we get to the point where we're healing. And so part of that healing, I think, which has been huge in my own experience, is that as I'm healing and getting stronger, I'm starting to really understand how I've emotionally withdrew. And like I said, unless you have somebody that knows you very, very intimately inside and out, they are generally the only ones that will pick up on this emotional withdrawal. Somebody that's very in tune to you emotionally and understands that, hey, something's off. This isn't the person that I'm used to being around. Something's changing. This can really, it can happen for lots of reasons, but mainly, like I said, it starts at childhood. It starts from abandonment. It starts from an abusive environment. It starts of microaggressions, micro instances of abuse. It's lots of things that cause us to slowly, emotionally withdraw. It's rejections, abandonments, all of these things kick in. You know, sometimes, you know, a big event like a heartbreak, or a huge betrayal, especially with somebody with CPTSD, that, you know, trust comes at a premium. We very rarely ever trust. We very rarely ever surrender ourselves to anyone or allow ourselves to be vulnerable with anyone. And so you have exposed your inner child. You have become vulnerable with someone and trusted someone, and then they betray you. And these are some big events that will absolutely put emotional withdrawal on speed dial. These are things that will definitely make it speed up. Some other things that make this happen, sometimes it's burnout, because you're a giving person, and you've given and given and given and given, and there's nothing left for yourself, and no one's filling up your cup. I like to talk about emotions and love as like a cup, and you're pouring yourself out all the time for other people, because most of us with CPTSD, like I said, you're either going to be more prone to narcissism, or you're going to be more prone to being empathic and highly sensitive. And like myself, I'm very empathic and highly sensitive, so we give and we give and we give to others, and no one is filling that cup back up. And so this is another way that we start seeing this emotional withdrawal. You decide that it was safer to just not feel at all. You know, and I've commented on this on my videos before. I've actually prayed to God to just take away my ability to feel, because it has been so painful over the years to love and not be loved back, to care for others and have them not care back for you, to consider yourself a friend and to be that friend, and to have people betray you at every turn. You know, this just gets to you. So you even get to a point where emotional withdrawal becomes a survival mechanism. It becomes a matter of protecting yourself. It's your mind and your heart saying, you know, hey, that hurts too much. Let's shut the door for a while. Okay. And in the short term, it may work. You may actually feel like you're avoiding pain. But we know over chronic trauma and over the years, with all of these layers of what's happened to us with CPTSD, it doesn't last. It's just like every other negative coping strategy that we've tried to implement. And this stuff comes back, and it comes back with a vengeance, not only with current things that are happening, but we react so much, like we talked about in the last video, we react so much to current things because it's also stuff from the past that's tagging along on this current thing that we're going through. And so it becomes, you know, even more intense, even more hard to deal with. You know, we're doing so much to try to avoid disappointment, to avoid more heartbreak. You know, the problem is, over time, this starts to cost us even more. When we shut ourselves off from the pain, we also shut ourselves off from joy. Okay, so here's the double-edged sword. We're not just cutting ourselves off from potential pain. We are cutting ourselves off from any chance at any joy. Okay, so I want you to really think about that for a minute. When we avoid the lows, we're going to miss the highs. Okay? It's like putting on armor maybe that's too heavy. You can't run towards good things anymore because you've got all of this armor on and you're carrying all this weight. Okay? Here's one of the things that most people don't think about with this. Okay? The longer that we stay in emotional withdrawal, the harder it is to come back. Okay? When you shut down like this, each time that you do it, it's harder and harder to come back. And I'm telling you the truth because this has been my life. We build walls that will never be torn down again. And we build these walls often with the people that we probably could have a good relationship with. And so we need to understand that each time we shut ourselves down to try to avoid pain or to try to avoid feelings, it's harder and harder to come back to ourselves. And, you know, I'm telling you the truth because this has been my life and it's caused a lot of damage. This may sting a little bit, but I need to say it. If you're in emotional withdrawal right now, you probably already know it's time to come back. There's a little whisper inside of us. It's a little whisper inside of us that is saying, I miss me. I want you to think about that for a second. I miss me. I miss how I used to laugh. I miss how I used to dream. This is your soul. It's knocking on the door and it's asking to be let in. We need to understand that when we emotionally withdraw, we are giving up a huge part of ourselves. I believe that we're giving up what is potentially the most beautiful part of ourselves. The part that God actually crafted, the actual soul, who we are meant to be. And the world has surrounded us with suffering. It's surrounded us with pain, with betrayal, with trauma, with abuse, with unhealthy relationships, with toxicity, with war, with pestilence. God understands. He understands how hard this is. But we need to understand that sometimes we are literally closing the door to our own soul and it wants to come back. We have a deep internal compass feeling inside that yearns for us to be who we are, who we truly are, and who we're meant to be. I know that the thought of reconnecting with that can be exhausting, excruciating. It might be terrifying. It might mean that we have to feel everything all over again. The good and the bad. I promise you though, staying in this place is costing you more than you realize. I want you to think about, as we had that little moment of silence, I was thinking about how much it's cost me over the years. And it's cost me a lot. It's probably cost me friendships. It's probably cost me romantic relationships. It probably has cost me my marriage. There's a lot. There's a lot there, and we have to think about that. I think of a turtle. I think about how a turtle, when it gets scared, it pulls itself into its shell. The second it senses danger, right, it pulls itself into the shell for protection. It's still alive and it's breathing, but it's hidden inside that shell. So unless it comes out, there's just a shell. You don't really know what that turtle even looks like. And I love animals, and I've had many turtles as pets and stuff I've rescued out of the road or whatever. And what's amazing is that each one of these turtles has unique features, that none of them are the same. And so I think about how we recess into our shell and we hide in this shell, and we hide ourselves from the world, and we hide ourselves from those that want to actually know us. And you know, this isn't weakness. I don't think that we can classify this as weakness. I think that our brain actually thinks that it's serving us by doing this, that it's actually protecting us, that this is us surviving. And so once again, I don't want you to beat yourself up if you are having this happen with you. You know, our brain doesn't always know the difference between temporary danger and permanent danger. It doesn't. We talked about that a little while ago. Sometimes current danger brings up danger from the past. And so we end up trying to process not only what's happening to us now, but what's happened in the past. And this can be overwhelming. And like I said, the older we get, the more life that we see, the more trauma that we experience, our threshold just isn't there for this anymore. Let's think of it as an emotional bank account, okay? Not just that cup that's getting filled and getting empty, but think if it's an emotional It's like a bank account. Okay, every time we experience joy, connection, laughter, love, this would be us making a deposit into that emotional account. Every time we face stress, heartache, exhaustion, betrayal, toxic relationships, abuse, we're making a withdrawal from that account. Okay? So, what's the problem here? Well, if you have CPTSD, like I do, there's been way, way, way too many withdrawals and not a lot of deposits. And so, we are owing our creditors and we are at a negative balance, and our credit sucks when it comes to the emotional side of the house. Okay? We need to realize that sometimes we need to try to put more in. We can't rely on other people. We can't rely on circumstances. We've got to get to a part in our healing journey that we start putting back into the emotional bank account. For me, it has been my faith, my conversations with God, realizing that He loves me, that He has not forsaken me, that I am not alone in this world. Surrounding myself with animals or with children because they're innocent and they can't harm me, and I can be myself, and they see the true character of a person anyway. If animals and kids are drawn to you, it means that you have a good soul. I mean, that's just what it is. And so we need to find ways, getting in touch with nature, finding a hobby that you enjoy. There's lots of ways that we can start making deposits into that account. Once that account is empty or it's at a negative balance, often we give up. And we know the consequences of giving up. We know the consequences of hopelessness. If you're watching this video, thank God that you are, because you haven't gotten to the ultimate point of hopelessness, which is also what this channel is about and about what we're talking about, because many have. And life is worth living, and there is a life for you, and there is a life that is very different from the one that you have lived. We just have to make the decision that we want to have that life, and that we're going to do the work, and we're going to do what we need to do to make that life. Whether it's starting off like I did, believing in a higher power and knowing that I'm not alone, and that there's a supernatural force called God that is going to be bigger than all of my trauma. And then slowly finding individuals like myself that I can bond with and have relationships with. And do I dare say trust? And then it's about putting in the work. You put in the work, you experience the results of that work, and then you do like I'm doing now, and you pour it back into the world and you help others. That is the ultimate part of this healing journey. It's to take your experiences, your education, whatever you've done in this healing journey, and to pour it back into the world and to try to make a positive impact and to help other people. This is what's really critically important. We got to remember that numbness doesn't just block pain, it also blocks love. It blocks excitement. It blocks meaning. When we think that we're protecting ourselves, what we're really doing is cutting ourselves off from the very things that make life worth living. The longer we stay there, the more we start believing this is just who I am now. And that's a lie. It's a huge lie. It's not who you are. And where you are can change. Think about that for a second. Where you are can change. The fact that you are watching this video right now, believe it or not, means you're already halfway back. Why? Because awareness of what's happening to us with this emotional withdrawal is step one. the very first step is awareness. We talk about this in every video, that the foundation of everything with CPTSD and trauma is understanding. I talked about the protocol last video. That's the foundation of the protocol that I've created, is knowing how did we get here to this point. We have to understand ourselves, and we have to understand ourselves deeply. We need to know what our God-given temperament is. We need to know what our personality is. We need to know what kind of attachment we have. We need to know, are we empathic or are we narcissistic? We need to know, where is our spiritual compass? Where is our support system? There's so many elements into just knowing who we are and how we got here. Once we have that knowledge, that foundation, we can start walking back forward and finding ourselves again. So awareness is the huge part of this that we want to talk about in this video, that we have talked about. Once you know who you are, you can start seeing the path back to yourself. More clarity. I know it's been more clarity than I've had in a lifetime. That's where we're going to begin to rebuild. Okay? We're going to talk more about the healing portion of emotional withdrawal when we come back for our next video. This foundational video on this topic is about realization. It's about you admitting, I've emotionally withdrew. But also for you to understand that, like I said, if you're watching this video, if you're reading into these subjects, if you're looking into emotional withdrawal and realizing that's what you've done or what you're doing, you're already halfway back. So I want you to have that hope. You're already halfway there. So use this time until we come back next week to think about that, to remember who you really are, to remember the laughter, to remember what you look like when you love, to remember the giver that you are, the amiable personality that people are drawn to. That's the real you. That's the real you that's been repressed and put away and hidden due to your trauma. It's time to reclaim ourselves. It's time to come back and to be who God crafted us to be, so that we can fulfill His plan and our destiny on this earth, which is far greater than we could ever imagine. Thanks for listening. I hope that you tune in next week when we talk about some really solid healing strategies to come back from emotional withdrawal. Everyone, I hope you have a good week. Pray for you every day. Like, comment, share. That is the lifeblood of this channel. God bless.